Welcome to the Traffic Hackers Podcast, the crossroads of lead generation expertise and business growth savvy. Here we explore the expansive landscape of demand generation, guided by your hosts, Brent Stone and Glenn Martin. So get your laptop out and your cell phone ready. It's time to enter the world of the Traffic Hackers.
And welcome back. We are here on the Traffic Hackers. I've got the Sam Anderson with me. We are going to be going back and forth on some more lead gen tactics today. Sam, thanks for being on with us again, man.
Absolutely.
It's exciting. We have a lot of fun things that we talked about last episode. This episode, though, we're going to get into some things that I think that a lot of people discount. And here's what I mean. A lot of people don't look at in-person speaking gigs as lead generation. They look at it as either revenue, like, hey, I'm getting a check to come and speak. Sometimes they look at it as giving back, like, hey, I'm actually sharing my IP because, you know, I'm this guru and I want to be able to do this to help the next generation or whatever. But we were just talking and you were saying, hey, Brent, there's a lot of missed opportunity for just lead generation in general. Like, can you go into that? Because I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, definitely. So I know I'm not ignorant to the fact that for a majority of people, their number one fear is public speaking. I get that. It still blows my mind that is a bigger fear than drowning. Most people would rather drown to death than to be on stage speaking in front of a crowd. Me personally, I can't get enough of it. If that's all I did for 8 hours a day, every day of the week, I would be an extremely happy man. But it's a couple things with that. Number one, the value add and how you can connect with a bunch of people all at one time. It's similar to social media where I can put out one post and it's ultimately going to reach thousands of people at once. Same thing with public speaking. Give me a room full of 200 people. I wouldn't have the time to speak with each one of them individually, but if you give me 30 minutes to an hour to do some training and add some value to them, I'm very likely to walk out of that room with some new business. Plus, I never do a public speaking event where we're not filming it. So I always have extra content to be able to post from that. But I can honestly say in my 10 years of being an entrepreneur, I've never once done a talk like in a public forum and not walked away with new business. It's never happened. Every single time I've been on stage, I've walked away with some business. So people getting past that fear, but then also looking at things like, you know, workshops and trainings where, yes, these are things that you can get paid for to come in. But majority of time, even when you teach someone, you can give someone so much value. But even after you teach them, they're still probably going to be too lazy to do it on their own. Like, you could show me how to change the oil on my car. I'm not going to do it because I'm not interested in sitting in my garage for 2 hours on a Saturday changing the oil when I could take it to my guy who can do it in 10 minutes for $50. I would much rather pay somebody to do that than to do it myself. But there is that component with the bankroll. I will say this. A year ago, I decided, because I would do a lot of free talks because I always got business from it. A year ago, I made the decision not doing any more free talks anymore. I got too much knowledge and expertise in my field now. It ain't for free anymore. Now, I'll get a lot of nonprofits or like something that's going to pull at my heartstrings, like, Sam, we really got this group. They're going to get a ton of value from you. Can you just spare some time? And I've also found that when I charge people for something, no matter the amount, they're going to value it much more. So bare minimum, let's say I did want to donate to a nonprofit and come to a talk. Bare minimum, I'm going to charge them at least $50. So just basically me giving it to them, but I need them to have some skin in the game. But that has allowed me into different spaces where now, once people start paying you for that content and coming on stage and training, you're now in a different echelon of people that are in the crowd. This organization is willing to pay me to be there and give this information. The people in that room are probably more caliber of what I'm looking for in a potential client than anything else. And this just doesn't extend to getting on a physical stage. Again, we all have the capabilities of getting on stage at any period of time in our life. It's called live. You go on Instagram live, you go on Facebook live, you go on LinkedIn live, you go on YouTube live, you just go live. Twitch, go live. You have a ready-made audience there for you. And I coached a lot of clients and got them used to being on camera. Then it was like Snapchat was like the newest thing. But I'll tell them, get on Snapchat every day and start making videos. You'll start to get so used to creating content that when me and my team come around with big old cameras, you're not going to be as nervous because you've been doing this for a while now.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So when you're talking about having people to just get on Twitch or Snapchat or something like that, are you telling them to basically just start like a personal account and just start recording stuff, or do they have like a business page, or does that even matter? Like, I mean, what's your take on that?
It depends on your brand. So for me, from the start, I've spent a lot of time building my personal brand. Because in my mind, I knew I would never just be doing one thing. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm going to have my hands in a bunch of stuff. I need people to know Sam Anderson first before they know Enzo Media Firm or Legacy Vending or Warren Investment or any of these other businesses I'm involved in. Because then no matter which way I pivot, whether I drop a new book or start a new business or I become co-chair of this organization, whatever it is, people are like, oh, that's Sam, Mr. He's attached to that. I want to learn more information about that.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you're doing. If you're a solopreneur and you found your niche and you found your business, that's all you want to do for the rest of your life, then I would go all in on the business brand. But if you're someone like me who has several different interests, because I get business off of, you guys can see in the back here, I got my golf clubs. I get business just to posting content on golf clubs. I'm not sure if you guys can see in the video, but like you can see part of my sneaker collection here. I have people come in here all the time that don't know a thing about sneakers, but they end up doing business with me because we'll sit here for 10 minutes and they're just enamored by my collection. Next thing you know, the rapport has been built and we're sitting at the table signing the contract. So yeah, it's really, there are a couple different ways you can do it, but I would say if you're on the traditional route, focus on that brand and start getting that content out.
So that kind of brings up another vein of this conversation that I think is very important: content. So like if we're talking about personal branding versus business branding, do you have some words of wisdom when it comes to like type of content that's going to create the lead flow for people? Because you creating content for a personal brand could be like getting people emotionally engaged with you, liking you. So whatever you end up putting your hands to, they also have an interest in, which, or you could be promoting something personally that's one of your businesses, and it might not be touchy-feely, cool. You know, you've got, $10,000 pair of sneakers that you guys are bonding over. You know what I mean? It could be something else that like is more business related, right? I mean, am I wrong in thinking that way, or is that something that we can go deeper on?
No, and I look at your content's based on the platform as well.
Okay.
So you're heavy in the LinkedIn space. The stuff I can put on Instagram, I cannot get away with putting on LinkedIn. Like they're gonna kick me out the club if I do that. So it's understanding the target audience and demographic that you're dealing with. So we'll take my Enzo brand and look at 3 major platforms. So first is Instagram. Our Instagram, like that video I told you about on our last episode, about Black History Month, that video is for Instagram and TikTok. It's not going to do as well on other platforms. Facebook, we keep the brand a little bit more buttoned up. So it's a lot more professional stuff, client spotlights, things like that. Then LinkedIn, I kind of do a mixture between the two for a business page. On LinkedIn, I'll keep it pretty buttoned up. Some updates, like if we signed a major client or something like that, just to keep people in the loop of what we have going on. But understanding that you have a different target audience for each platform is going to help you determine what type of content you need to be making. Because I can do just like memes and stuff a lot of the time on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, that leads to serious engagement so that when I post something about my business, that organic reach is still there. Instagram, we typically go ham. And I'm doing Instagram stories all day long. I typically don't do Facebook stories as much. But Instagram stories, people can follow me throughout my days. So whether I'm at lunch or I'm in a meeting or I'm working on something, they can just get a sense of like, hey, what's going into each day. So yeah, it really depends on the platforms and how you come up with that content. I don't want people to only focus on like video content. To me, that's going to be your number one most powerful medium for marketing. But if that's not your strength, don't force yourself in that space, because I'm a much better speaker than I am a writer. But if I was a better writer, man, I'd be blowing up on medium.com, on Reddit, like all these different things. Like these other forms of medium aren't dead. You have to figure out where your skill sets lie and apply it to your brand. And a lot of times you could write an article or a blog post on LinkedIn. You could take a section of that, and if you don't want to be on camera, you've basically written out a script for a video. You can take that content, have somebody on your team film it, and now you have a visual version of that blog that you wrote. So there are a ton of different ways that you can go at it. Podcasting. Somebody's afraid to get on camera. Like, your podcast doesn't have to be filmed. You're doing it here because we both know that video is going to play a lot better than just the audio. And a lot of times for podcasts, a video is what's going to lead somebody to listen to the entire episode. But if you're that person, you can get on the mic with a blank screen and just say what's on your mind.
Yeah, that's really good. I think one of the biggest struggles that I had initially when we were kind of getting up and off the ground in this space, even though I came from a background of advertising and marketing and other things, I didn't want to talk into a microphone. I didn't want to talk in front of a camera. And you're right. I mean, one of the biggest things was just me trying to convince myself that it's going to stink. I'm not going to be good. And we just got to start. And my business partner was more up for it than I was. And it's not like I hadn't spoken and done stuff in front of other people. I have a background, we talked about it. I have a background, speaking on stages in front of a lot of people. But it still wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I think a lot of professionals find themselves in that space. Once people get over that hump, it's really just going and making it happen and then making a habit out of it. Right.
It's so fun looking back years from now and seeing the progress. I equate it to say you start your fitness journey off and you're 300 pounds, and then 2 years from now you're at 180. The progression of those pictures is crazy to go back and see yourself and be like, holy crap, I've come a long way. It's the same thing with video marketing and these sort of things. Every now and then I'll scroll all the way to the bottom of my YouTube page and look at some of the first videos I did, and I'm like, man, I suck. But because of that, now I can look at the content that we put out today and realize how far I really have come and how much time I put into developing this skill set. And that gives you more of an appreciation for what it is and how much you've put into this, and realizing, hey, I have made some serious progressions in this space.
Man, yeah, that's so awesome. And think of, like, if there's one thing that I here's what I'm going to leave people with, and I'll let you leave our listeners with another thing. When you have that progression and it's basically laid out, you've got video proof of how bad you were to how good you now are. You can now have this incredible montage of just your story. And then that is a whole new piece of content right there if you have someone edit all that stuff together and just display your journey. And then it also is a touchy-feely thing because you can explain to people, hey, look, I'm right there with you. Look. And then they can follow your life cycle of where you are now versus where you came from, and it just makes so much of a difference.
Yeah, and you're more relatable when people can see that. You know, we all want the polished brand where we're wearing the expensive suit and the lights are just right, and it's like you look like you're on the cover of a magazine. Most people can't relate to that on a day. They're looking at your content, and they're like, "Man, that guy's big time. Like, I'd love to work with him, but I don't think I can afford him." You may be very affordable, but they're looking at your brand thinking that you're out of their stratosphere. But when they can go through and see the journey, we've closed so much business with people just saying to me, you know what, Sam, I've just followed your story for so long. I just want to support what you're doing. So I'm gonna park my business here with you. A lot of people you're gonna find along the way that just are fans of your story and they want to support you. So just by sharing these tidbits, by opening the world up to what's going on in your world, you're adding a lot more value than you realize. There's a reason why more people are going to view your story on Instagram than are going to like your post. Because in life, most people are just watching you. They're not going to engage. They're just watching you. And you never know who that person is. I always tell people, you could be one post away from your life completely changing. And it's happened in several facets of my life where, number one, I met my wife on Facebook. That's how strong my social media game is. I bagged my wife on Facebook. But it was from that one message that I sent to her. But there have been clients that we pulled in where I remember when I first got started, like if somebody paid me $300, I was over the moon. Now, those prices have gone up and we're signing clients for $3,000, $10,000, $20,000. And a lot of that progression has come from that one post that I put out, that this one person just happened to see, that ended up making that one phone call, that signed that one contract, that changed the scope of my business for the next few years. So you're only one away from whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so awesome. Hey, if you want more from Sam Anderson and Enzo Media Group, just check the show description. We're going to have links down there to you can reach out to him. You can find his business. And I would encourage you to do so. He is not only a serial entrepreneur with a lot of different hands and a lot of different cookie jars, he has tremendous experience in this space, and he can advise. He's awesome. So, Sam, thank you so much for being with us today. We are so grateful to you, and I can't wait until we get to have another conversation for sure.
Absolutely, bud. Appreciate it.
Hey, take care, man.